Got a charge going on right there. That was way too close to my head.
Taking my time on my ride.
Hey, what's up guys? Jacoby here from jacobysjourneys.com, and today we're taking a look at the BioLite stove with the additional barbecue attachment. It's a stove that I've used for the last couple of years. I think it's an awesome product, so I wanted to show it to you and show you some of the things that I really like about this product. Most of my videos are about backpacking gear to use when traveling abroad. So this is something that I wouldn't take with me when I'm traveling abroad. You could, but it's kind of a bulkier item that wouldn't really fit great in your travel pack. So it's something that I use when I'm at home, when I'm camping, and just hanging out in the woods or going to the river. So this is the main stove itself. It fits inside this little bag. So you can see it's a pretty small stove, the motor, and with this you can use to charge your electronics. It's a USB port on the front of it. So you take the stove and put that inside, and then when you fold down the legs, it just grabs onto it, and the remaining two legs. And this is a bag that I keep mine in. This is just a granite gear. It's like kind of a waterproof bag. And this is another part that I invested into, and this is the grill attachment for the stove. And it has a lid that can pop off. And this also can serve as a cutting board or a plate, you know, if you are out in the forest, out in the woods, whatever. And there's the grill. And this has folding legs that pop down. And then again, the BioLite stove itself. And then it also comes with a little charging cable that you can use if you need to charge the internal battery of the motor itself. But I haven't had to use this pretty much in over 2 years I've had this stove. I've never had to actually use this because it holds the charge so well for so long. And then a little metal stand that you can put on top of the stove, so that way you can put a pot or a pan on top of it. And then the stove goes together pretty easily again. It's just inserting that, folding that first leg down, and then the second and the third. So this element is what's actually going to get hot, and so when you're building the fire and the fire heats up this goes into, which this is going to have your USB port there, and then it's got a switch to do a low and a high fan. And then here you can see some venting. So I'm really impressed with this design. I think it's really cool and lightweight. So I'll show you, just getting a fire started and getting it going. So what I typically do, I'll just use a jet torch. I'll just put a few small pieces in, and then once it starts going a little bit, you can kick on the fan. And you can see once the fan kicks on, it will pretty much automatically just start going. And that air circulation is really what makes that huge difference. It's blowing air right onto the fire and stoking that fire. Then what you want to do is hit this power, and then that's going to kick it into a high. And so that's really going to start getting the flame going. And you pretty much just kind of sit back and let the motor or the fan do all the work. So once it starts rolling, again, the cool thing about this stove is you can pretty much use anything you want to burn. That's anything that's combustible. So for example, you could take some pine cones, and I can literally just throw in some pine cones. You could take a handful of leaves. So again, once that flame is burning this element right here, that is what is charging the motor in here, and it's actually creating a surplus of energy. Besides the fan itself, it's creating enough to actually charge your electronics. So let's get this fire just rolling, and then we will test out the charging feature. So I've got my iPhone 6, so I'll plug that in. Okay, so I just plugged in my cell phone. I'm starting to get a charge now. So it is charging my cell phone by just burning all these sticks and stuff that we're putting inside. And because of that fan, you know, circulating the air down through the bottom and kind of spinning around inside of it, you can see how it causes kind of a tornado or like a vortex with the fire. Another cool feature that, you know, I wouldn't really recommend, but you can touch this thing just briefly. So that goes to show that, you know, it doesn't get super red hot. You know, I wouldn't recommend touching it, but just to show you, I can touch it about that long, and it does start to get pretty hot. One of the things I would recommend if you are getting one of these is this is a USB light stick. There's LEDs, and with this you can plug this in, and that will give you an LED light. So if you are cooking or doing something next to, you know, around the fire, that will give you an actually pretty good light that, you know, doesn't take any batteries. It's just going to run off of the power from your stove. And if you are going to, you know, cook your meal, you've got a light. You can put your pot and boil your water directly on top. Got a charge going on right there. That was way too close to my head. So now seeing what it's kind of capable of, you can see, you know, it's a pretty good size flame. So it's cool just as a fire itself. If you're camping and you just want a fire, it actually worked pretty well. But what we're gonna do now is test out this grill attachment. So then what you'll want to do is get that open, and then here's the grill. And this basically is just going to sit on top. And then what you would do is close this lid, and now that's going to force all of the flames to be coming up. And they say it has kind of different ranges, so, you know, depending on where you put your food or whatever you're cooking on the grill itself, there's actually different places that have, you know, high and low heat. You know, once you see the flames kind of getting down low, you can open it up, stick something inside there. So that's pretty much it. That's, you know, how well this thing works. It's just about completely burnt out. So I'm just gonna shut it off. Okay. I just shut it off, and the embers are just barely glowing. Okay. I'm just gonna dump it out just to see, you know, what was in there. Okay. All right, so I literally had that fire going for 10 or 15 minutes, and, you know, this is the pile of ashes that it leaves you with. And that was 10 or 15 minutes of burning, which would be plenty of time to boil water if you needed to boil water for a meal or make some coffee or whatever. 10 or 15 minutes worth of burning, and that, again, it's pretty much gone. Like, it'll just, you can dump it out into the soil and the dirt, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed this review of the BioLite stove. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any comments or questions for me, feel free to leave it down below. And if you haven't already, I appreciate if you could subscribe to my channel. I upload new videos about backpacking and travel gear every week.
Taking my time on my ride.
Cards and a little bit of cash. So if someone does try to pickpocket you or tries to mug or rob you, you can pull this out and give it to them, and it buys you time to actually get away once they get this and they see that you've got what looks to be credit cards